now, if you really want to hear it, share with you a little bit about what's on my mind due to the recent, it does tie to today's Torah reading, but the recent news of what's going on to us as Jews. It's not the best news in the world. Anyway, we got to face it. We have to deal with it. But before I begin, I want to uh, let you know that if I refer to extremists during this Torah reading, I'm talking about extremists, not people who are not extremists. For instance, when I say the progressive left, I am not referring to mainstream liberals. That's not what I'm talking about. They're not a problem, right? They have opinions, and there are people that agree with them, and there's people that don't agree with them. But when I say the radical right, I'm not speaking about mainstream conservatives. They're fine. Mainstream is fine. But the extreme makes the most noise and causes the most damage. So there is no room for extremists on either side in a civilized society. There just isn't. Unfortunately, there are too many of my peers, meaning rabbis, who identify with the extremists on one side or the other. They're both. It's very difficult for a moderate human being or a mainstream person to understand what's going on and why. Uh, they misquote, they take out of context things, they misappropriate various verses of Tanakh and the Talmud, and they want to support their sick and misguided and sick, I repeat that, sick point of view. So that said, we all know that this past Sunday afternoon on Erev Shavuot, which we were together for on Shavuot on Monday and Tuesday, but on Boulder, Colorado, this sicko man, this monstrous human being, attacked a group of Jewish demonstrators who were marching on behalf of the hostages held by Hamas. And he viciously assailed them with homemade flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails. Several of the peaceful demonstrators, including Barbara Steinmetz, an octogenarian Holocaust survivor, were hospitalized with severe burns. She was unbelievable. The firebombers' stated goal was to kill as many Jews as possible in support of a free Palestine that stretches from river to sea with only Muslims as its population. And they call Israel a country committing genocide? Does that make sense? How do you call the country that's being eliminated and the people that are being eliminated as the people committing genocide? How do you do that? And oh, yes, don't forget, got to remember that this clown proudly claimed he would do it again. Anyway, the Boulder City Council passed a resolution condemning the attack, with one progressive council member refusing to sign on to the resolution. She objected to the word anti Semitism. Can you imagine? She didn't like the word. She claims that it was merely an act of anti Zionism. Okay, if that's what she believes. But does that mean that progressives think that murder is justified when you're fighting Zionism? Fortunately, nobody died in the Boulder attack, but some were severely burned. Can you imagine? Oh, they don't have to call them anti-Semites. They are Zionists, so we can kill them. Oh, God. Sick. Well, in Washington, D.C., a few weeks ago, two young staffers of the Israeli embassy, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, were murdered shortly before they were to become engaged. They were killed because they were Jews attending a Jewish event. At least that's what the murderer thought, because one of them, Yaron Lashinsky, was not really Jewish. He had converted to Christianity. But never mind that both had worked for peace in Gaza. That's what they were doing. They were working for peace in Gaza. That's what that meeting was for. And for better relations between Israelis and Palestinians. They were working hard for that. Many on the progressive left defended the murderer. I don't understand. You know how they did it? They set up a GoFundMe page for his defense and raised plenty of money so that he could have a good lawyer. And then, when asked, progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, I wish I didn't have to call her by name, refused to condemn the murders. Just refused. Anyway, this is a congresswoman. These are our leaders. But none of this is surprising. It's just not. Murder for extremists on both sides is often justified. They do it, they turn themselves into pretzels to justify it. And in a case unrelated to Israel, but demonstrating today's zeitgeist, Brian Thompson, an insurance executive, was murdered execution style in New York City. We all saw it, we all heard it, and they spent so much time on this. But he's not Jewish, had nothing to do with Israel. His murder his murderer is now a folk hero to many on the progressive left, who applaud his attack on the American insurance industry. Again, the left, progressive left, I prefer to call it regressive. I'm going to do it from now on. The regressive left, who applaud his attack on American insurance industry. Who can do such a thing? He has had marriage proposals, this murderer, and there is even talk about a musical celebrating his life that they want to put up on Broadway. Now, one thing I want you to know is I am not mentioning these perpetrators' names because they don't deserve it. Yamach Shemam V'Zichram. Yamach Shemam V'Yizram. May their names and their memories be erased. Disgusting. How can you call them human beings? Of course, when those on the regressive left use the slogan, globalize the intifada, which we hear all the time now, they're declaring precisely what their intentions are. The intifada was a mass campaign of murder against innocent Israelis on buses and in pizza parlors and at discotheques. Now, the supporters of this movement are calling for the mass murder of Jews throughout the world, including right here in the good old USA. They do not care if the Jews that they are calling for to be killed are Zionists or not. They don't care. They just want to kill Jews. At least they're being honest. Murder for a political cause is not simply a tool of the progressive left, but also of the reactionary right. Both sides, liberals and conservatives, that towards the end of the spectrum on each side. In 2018, when a murderer entered the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, where my cousin served as the rabbi and the cantor, This murderer killed 11 worshipers and wounded 6. We all remember it. We had a big service in the senior center in Monroe Township and other towns and other states. They had it too. But this guy claimed this. I'm going to call him. Excuse my French. This Momser claimed that he was fighting Jewish support of immigration. Yeah. And in his mind, Jews was mongrelizing the white race because we're intermarrying. So murder was justified by him. That's what he said. Murder has been a tool of the ultra right and the ultra left for decades. Today, this kind of murder is justified and defended as long as it serves their political cause. And to make matters worse, anti-Semitism has been normalized. Oh, a Jew got killed. What do you expect? Can you imagine if it was black people and how the reaction would be so different? And rightly so, by the way, the blacks shouldn't be suffering either. For most of that time, my major concern was how to make our services and events more open and welcoming. I was trying to do that when we had a place. But today it is sad that my major concern is how to help us all be unafraid to be Jewish. How do you do that? How? Do we need armed guards at the door of every single Jewish worship service and gathering? Today, the answer seems to be yes, you do. 2 days ago, I had a meeting of the Board of Rabbis where we had several rabbis discussing the issue. We're almost in tears. Then there's ads on Facebook. Imagine this, Facebook and TikTok, urging the Jews to buy a tallis bag. Wow, big. What a wonderful thing. Let's buy a tallis bag. What about a tallis? No, they're not interested in the tallis. They want us to buy a tallis bag with a secret compartment to put a gun in or a knife to hide the weapon that we need to bring wherever we go. And we should carry this tallis bag wherever we go. This is Mishigas. How do you can't do these things. This is the Jewish world we are living in today. Perhaps it is good that we have been trained to have our services on Zoom. We're much safer on Zoom. It's a shame we have to do it on Zoom, but at least we have it. This week, the Torah reading is named Naso, not so, Naso, because it is so. The word in the context of the reading means to take a census, but that's not really what Naso means. The literal meaning of the word is to lift up. In other words, lift up your head and be counted. That's why it's a census. It means to lift up. In our tradition, we seek to lift one another all the time. That's what we're taught to do as Jews. Pick us up, lift us up. Then the Jewish approach to life is closest to the beautiful Josh Groban song. You know, I have to say, I had never heard that song until a few years ago. My brother sang it at a concert, my brother Manny. And I loved it. And he did such a beautiful job with it. I can't get it out of my head. I remember it all the time. You raised me up so I could stand on mountains. You raised me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raised me up to more than I can be. Listen to those words. If we can lift up each other or we can shoot one another down, that's what we do. We take the opportunity. We pick it up. It's Meshuggah. It's mishigas. You don't have to shoot people down. Pick them up. That's our job. We are Jews. We must lift each other up. Too many on the progressive left and reactionary right, Jews and otherwise, there are Jews there on both sides, have made their choice. And it's wrong. Our tradition teaches what the correct choice is. None of those extremists make the right choices. None of them. As Jews, we must lift each other up. And when I say Shabbat Shalom and Am Yisrael Chai, we should be feeling lifted up. And therefore I say it now. Shabbat Shalom and Am Yisrael Chai.